Yo, what's up guys? It's Casey here, and I'm going to show you how to smoke a cigar. So basically, every year at Christmas time, I get a box of cigars, and I give them away to the people in my life that I think will want them. So there was a lot of people at work that I gave cigars to, and were like, cool, I've never actually smoked a cigar. And, you know, not that I'm enticing people to start a habit that's probably not the best habit to start, but it's a man thing, you know, cigar between men. Whether they smoke it or not is not really important, it's the thought that counts. But so I figured I should do this video to let people like them know how to smoke a cigar. Now, I don't know, it's been a while, 10, 12 years I've been smoking cigars, and these are my opinions. Probably not the purest way, but I enjoy them, and that is the whole point of the cigar, is to enjoy them. If there's anything about them that is not enjoyable, don't do it, because it's not like a cigarette where you have to smoke a cigarette. A cigar is a commitment. I'm going to sit down with this cigar, and I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes relaxing, doing nothing, just enjoying myself. That's kind of the whole point of the cigar. These are handmade, hand-rolled, in some far-off country by people, you know, usually in fairly poor conditions, and it should always be a reminder of how lucky we are that we're able to enjoy something like this and have a little slice of the good life. So speaking of, I'm going to start with a little Mount Gay XO, one of my favorite rums, thanks to Will. Start a little bit of that, and we're going to get started on how to smoke a cigar. Cheers. Now, first of all, there are no tools that you have to smoke a cigar. I do, because I like cigars and I like to do it the right way, but you could muster through with some less than perfect tools. So first of all, you normally get your cigar. It's in a plastic wrapper. You take it out of the plastic wrapper. Be a little hard to smoke in. So now you have the cigar. It's a Nat Sherman Timeless. Really fantastic cigar for the price. Really, really, really good. Great light oil on the wrapper. I mean, just beautifully constructed, except for that little flaw right there. But just a great, well-balanced smoke. So take a minute to smell it, you know, really appreciate the time and the effort that's went into fermenting and aging these tobaccos, and put together in such a cohesive way to make it an enjoyable experience. So in order to smoke the cigar, the first thing you have to do is cut the cap. Now listen, if you're in a pinch, you could take a pocket knife or a chef's knife and cut it off. I don't recommend that. Of course, I have a cigar cutter. This is a very nice one. It's a limited edition one that I've had for years, but it really does the trick well. So you take it. Some people will even put the cutter on the table. Let me get where you can see this. They put the cutter on the table, and you put the cigar in there, and you can clip it like that. Pretty much cuts it right where you want to be. I never do that, but let's see if I can line this up. You basically don't want to cut off the straight parts of the cigar. If you cut off the straight edges, you're cutting off too much. And you don't want to cut off too little, or then you can't get enough air drawn through the cigar. So there's this happy medium where this little curvature is. You want to cut off just enough of the curvature where you get a nice, thick cut without going too far. So I'm going to do something in there like that. Squeeze it tight, pull it away. A little bit of the filler that's left in there, but you can see how it didn't go too far onto the straight sides, and there's plenty cut to where I'll be able to get a good draw. Make sure there's no loose pieces. I usually give it a test draw. This feels like it has a reasonably good draw. It's not too tight. I mean, it's a well-made cigar, so it should be good. Some people, if it is a tight cigar, they run a needle down through it or something like that. I've never had to deal with that. Step 2 is going to be lighting the cigar. Purists will recommend that you use matches, or even better, cedar matches. They have really long stem cedar matches, and those are the most pure way to do it, because cedar is a very complementary wood flavor for cigars. Matter of fact, all the boxes that cigars come in, those are made out of Spanish cedar usually, unless it's a paper box or something to that effect. These are not cedar matches, but they're still good. Nice wooden match. That would be the purest way to do it. I'm not going to do that because it's rare that I have the chance to sit in a totally windless environment and use a match. I prefer a torch. This is a nice triple torch from Cigar, and it works really well. I mean, these are like $90. Again, you don't have to be crazy. If you got a Bic and that's all you have, and you still want to enjoy a cigar, and that's the only thing stopping you from relax time, use the Bic. So the first thing you want to do is toast the cigar. You can do this in kind of two extremes. What most people will do is toast the cigar just enough to get an even burn, and I'll show you. An even burn around, and then they will light it up with a little more flame. I've seen them at cigar shops, and sometimes I'll do it myself. They will toast and toast and toast and keep toasting until there's a solid red ember burning on the thing. You can blow a little bit until you see a full solid red. Then you don't even have to draw with the flame under it. It's ready to go. But we're going to do this kind of the traditional way, where you give it a light toast and then you light and draw as you're going. So you want to keep the flame fairly distanced away from the cigar. You don't want it right up next to it where it's totally just torching the crap out of it, because this is called a toast. Just putting a nice char on it, nice burn. It's starting to get some red embers on there. There you go. See a flame popping up. You're turning the cigar. You're keeping the flame moving around. Keeping it nice and friendly. Now watch when I give it a little. You can see red parts starting to pop up. We're going to toast it a little more. See, there's a nice red showing up. All right, we're starting to get a good even burn on it. Oh, smells good. So now we're going to go for the light. Doing the same thing, torch under, keeping the flame away, and draw very lightly while you're spinning the cigar. That's fantastic. Your first draw might be a little harsh because there's a lot of heat going on. There's a lot of brand new stuff burning. I should say a word about matches. When you light the match, and if you're lighting a cigar, don't light it and immediately stick it through or stick it to the cigar. That flare up right there is a lot of the sulfur or whatever the compound is at the tip of the match burning off. You want to let it flare up, go, then simmer back down, then you torch underneath your cigar to get it lit up. Okay. So now we're cooking. We have a decent, see a decent line, relatively symmetrical around the cigar. That's a good sign. A little bit of smoke coming off. We're lit. We're ready to go. So now give it a light, easy draw. You're going to pull the smoke into your mouth, but not into your throat or your lungs. Some people do. Those people are rock stars. I don't do that. It'd make me sick instantly. So just draw it into your mouth, taste it, let it swirl around a little bit, and then blow it back out. Now this is where you really start to pick up the flavors and the notes of the varying tobaccos used. And this is where you start to enjoy. Treat the cigar like a nice aged rum or a nice whiskey or bourbon. Pick out what you taste in there. Pick out what you smell. Every cigar, just like every beer or whiskey or wine, is a different experience. It's a different story. Everyone has a different a different thing that it wants to tell you. You just have to listen. So like in this one, I get a little bit of like toasted wood, kind of like light leather, almost like saddle leather, kind of nutty or dry cocoa. I mean, I don't have the best palate for cigars, but when you do start thinking about it, you really start to pick up the little like peppery spice and the I mean, that's what makes it cool. You go grab a different kind, even go grab a different Nat Sherman, not one of the Timeless, totally different experience if you're looking for the story that it's trying to tell you. Now, a couple of things as you're smoking, because you don't want to like be puffing on it a bunch. You know, one draw every 30 seconds or so, nice and relaxed, taking it easy. If it does happen to go out on you, it's pretty easy. All you're gonna do, and of course this one isn't out, but all you're gonna do is get your torch going again. Kind of just run it around the ring on the out edge, like not this way, but kind of on the out edge of the cigar. Really light that ring up, and you'll be back in action in no time. So a lot of people say, like, what do you do with the band? I leave it on because I want to look down, and I don't know, it gives me something to read and look at, and you know what you're smoking. Or other people know what you're smoking when you look at it. And also, as kind of a general rule of thumb, as you're smoking the cigar and you get down to the wrapper, that's generally a good indication of the cigar is about out of its maximum potential for flavor and being awesome. If it's a really good cigar, I mean, I'll smoke it down until my fingers are getting hot. But when it gets down towards the wrapper, then or the band, I will take the band off and continue to smoke if I'm enjoying. The second that I stop enjoying the cigar, or I start feeling queasy or something, I stop immediately. The cigar is all about enjoyment, so I'm not going to ruin it by indulging too much. As you're smoking the cigar, let's say you want to put it out for some reason. You could always just sit it down, let it go out naturally. But if I know I'm not going to get back to the cigar for a while, I will take the cutter, assuming that the ring gauge isn't too big for the cutter to slip over. I will clip off the ash part. So then you'll actually take the cigar with the burnt part all cut off and away, and you'll blow out of the cigar. That you'll see that smoke that was trapped in there, kind of residual smoke, will blow out of the cigar, and now you're left with a stub of the cigar with as much of the flavor preserved as possible. If you leave the smoke sitting in there and just sit it down, it kind of gives it more of a rancid, kind of smoke, burnt, acrid flavor than it would have otherwise. Now when you come back and you light the cigar normally, like you would do, it will start off a little acrid in the beginning, but it will quickly, a minute or two, you'll be back to it tasting pretty much how it did when you first lit it up. Bug landed on my ice cube. So, one common thing that new people to cigars will ask is, what do they do with the ash? How do they get it off of there? So, patience. Again, just like everything else with a cigar, you're relaxing, you're patient. It's not a constant tapping thing like people might do with a cigarette. It's not like that. When your ash starts getting down to about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, that's when you need to kind of start thinking about doing it. I've just been doing it a long time, so I kind of know when it's about to fall. But you can always take it against your ashtray or wherever and just give it not a light tap, but a decent tap. And see how it's not really falling off, it's just kind of breaking. You know, you'll kind of learn when it wants to fall off and when it doesn't. You really want it to happen naturally. When you're breaking it off, that kind of changes the way that the cigar is burning. And right now, this cigar is really burning beautifully. I mean, pretty even all the way around. I mean, that's really what you want. If you're getting crazy lines where it's burning down the edges or burning holes or whatever, it's usually indicative of a poorly rolled cigar. This one's rolled well, so it should burn fairly evenly. But, so yeah, be patient. Don't knock it off a bunch. Just let it kind of happen, do its own thing. Eventually, if you smoke enough of them, you'll have one fall off into your lap and get ash all over you because you didn't ash it soon enough. But that's the way it goes. So I'm going to attempt to ash this one off. And just a, light tap in the ashtray. Drops it in there. And now you're left with this nice edge of where the burnt part was. It's not a cone of burning tobacco sticking out there. I mean, that's exactly what you want. And now continue enjoying as usual. Now continue smoking it as long as it's enjoyable. When it starts getting maybe hot or a little bit harsh tasting, you'll know it's time to put it out. Or if you start getting a little dizzy or, then you might be smoking a little too much. But just enjoy it, relax, and remember that a cigar is a luxury. It's a small luxury, but the fact that you get to enjoy something beautiful, well-made, handcrafted like this shouldn't be taken for granted. And it's one of the reasons I enjoy them so much. Yeah, definitely need some more of this. Yeah, pairing a great cigar with a great aged whiskey, rum, bourbon, something to that effect. Grand Marnier, Drambuie, something like that. Sambuca, I don't know, you can keep going on. Cognac. Yeah, just makes the experience even better. Here's another little piece of info that I should have mentioned at the beginning. Where you get your cigar from is going to make a big difference in the enjoyment of the smoke. If you go somewhere like, it seems like ABC, whatever, they usually have like a humidor, a walk-in humidor room or something. Sometimes those can be good. Sometimes the people that run the store don't know cigars nor how to take care of them. Cigars have to be kept in a humid environment like 70, 74 degrees, and if they're not, they dry out. Like if you walk out into the yard and you pick up some dead leaves off the ground, they go crunch. Well, a dried out cigar will do the same thing. That will totally ruin and change your taste and your experience of the cigar, regardless if it's one of the best cigars ever. It will totally ruin it. So make sure you get them from somewhere that kind of knows what they're doing. I mean, any kind of cigar, like a boutique cigar store, like Carvino's, which is my favorite, or like Corona Cigar down in, how do I get that on the camera? Or like Corona Cigar down in Orlando. Those people know cigars and they know how to treat them. They're kept at the perfect humidity and they're wonderful. But like if you go to cut the cigar and it instantly cracks down the side or something like that, it's a dry cigar and it's going to be a less than pleasurable experience. Now, if you start getting a little more serious about cigars and you want to keep some at home, you don't have to go crazy and get a big humidor or anything nuts. You can get an old cigar box, a cedar cigar box, not a paper one. They'll usually, a cigar shop will give them away or sell them for like $5 or something. Get you a nice wood one that seems to seal up well. You can put a few cigars in there, and you can put humidifier packs. All the cigar shop will sell them. They either have little like envelopes that'll say humidity pack or something like that on there. Those will usually last like at least a month or two and keep your cigars at the perfect humidity. They'll be really nice, fresh, soft when you squeeze them. You'll squeeze the cigars. You won't hear any cracking. It'll just be nice and firm and no noise at all. That's how you want to keep them. Another small thing, if you need to use a knife to cut your cigar, you can put it at that same point I was talking about earlier and just kind of rotate the cigar around and cut into it. Don't try to cut straight through. You're going to end up ripping the cap and screw it up. But cut into the cigar and spin the cigar around like that. You'll cut a nice neat circle out of it, and it'll be just as good as having some $100 cutter. As I've been smoking the cigar, especially when it starts getting down, you might get these weird burns or whatever. I like to just take my torch. Of course now it's not going to light. And I just burn that one part that needs it. That usually gets it right back into shape. If you have any questions, any question at all, just put it in the comments. I'll get right back to you. If you want to know if a cigar is any good or what a good cigar is for a beginner or something, just message me. Like I'll help you out. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a great night. Enjoy your cigars. We'll see you soon. Bum, 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 bum.